Today, we're going to be talking about how to catch betrayal early. I fully believe you can catch this to a point of not being hurt again. The more that you can catch things in the early days, the more it will not get down the track to something that is so significant or a significant betrayal. The reality is, betrayal isn't just having sex with someone. Betrayal happens in the tiniest of little encounters where you haven't been considered or respected. Let's talk about the things that I see often, a sign of betrayal that is disrespectful, and yet it can be subtle in the early days. However, not honoring. And if we can speak to this as soon as we feel it, as opposed to feeling shameful or guilty for feeling, let's say, jealous, instead of feeling jealous or blaming or judging ourselves for feeling jealous, no, honoring that, hey, I didn't feel considered in this, and that's what doesn't feel good. And the more that we can speak to that, the more that we can earn respect. Earn respect as in like we're setting the bar and then they are respecting us, but not in terms of you need to earn it. But the more that we raise our standard and speak to that, the more that people can rise to that, and anyone else that does not meet that can melt away. So I want to talk today about social exclusion. This is the one thing that I want to talk today on, one of the subtle signs of catching betrayal early before it gets too much or too big to a physical betrayal. But social exclusion is where you're in the container of the relationship and your partner, it feels like he goes around you, or maybe he just goes and connects with someone else without considering you. And so, in a way, you're excluded from the container of this conversation, and it doesn't feel good. It's not respectful, it's hurtful. You can feel jealous and you can feel all these emotions, and yet it's so tiny often. It often is very tiny. And so, it's about tuning into, is this my wound here that I'm feeling, or is actually what I'm feeling is not considered in this? And if you're not feeling considered or respected or honored or your heart taken into consideration, then speak to that. The more that we can catch that, the more that we can catch bigger betrayals. Because it all starts with the small things, right? Today, I want to talk about an experience that happened in the container of my relationship. And this wasn't in the container of the relationship, it was someone coming outside the relationship, and it was subtle. And yet, when we spoke to it, it validated why I didn't like it. Instead of it being too much or like, come on, this is nothing, as soon as I spoke to it and then the discomfort arised in the other person, it validated what I was seeing before I was seeing it, if that makes sense. So I've got my phone here. I'm going to read out to you what happened. My partner and I, we went to go for a coffee with my partner's friend. And this wasn't a close friend. This was just someone that they only slightly knew, but we were catching up with them. I wasn't actually able to catch up with them. I had some priorities that I needed to do, but I was in proximity with them. So I ended up sitting down with them while catering to some of these priorities. And so my partner and this friend were having conversations together while I was not present in the conversation fully. I was present at times, but not fully. That was it. Then we went home. Didn't fully feel comfortable with this person. I felt at times an interrogation energy that didn't feel very honoring or respectful. I just picked up on that. And then what happened is he followed me on a few social media platforms. I just ignored it because I didn't have a need to connect. And then many days later, I think like a week later, he sent me a reel on a social platform. What I didn't like about this was, why aren't you sending it to my partner? My partner is your friend. This reel has really nothing to do with what was discussed. I don't know who you are. And so why you opening up conversation with me that is separate to my partner? Now, if you really wanted to get this message to me as well, one, is it really on topic of what we were talking about? But two, maybe send it to my partner and say, I think Kate would like this. The reason being is because this friend, so to speak, is my partner's friend. He's not my friend. And so what would be more respectful if I was someone that was outside of a relationship, hanging out with a couple, I would honor my friend first by opening that line of communication with my friend as opposed to bypassing and going straight to their partner. To me, it just felt off. It's not honoring my partner opening up communication with me. So I wanted to speak to it. I wanted to do something about it, or my partner did. More so, I didn't feel necessarily comfortable. I was like, why is this person wanting to reach out to me when I really don't know who this is and this is your friend? And so my partner sent this message, and the message said, "Hi, XXX, let's say Tom. Kate showed me the reel you sent her. I just wanted to reach out man to man and ask you not to message her. It's not honoring me or her to be sending my partner messages when you don't know her. She's not comfortable by it, and neither am I. I'm sure if you would feel similarly if the roles were reversed." Now it's just a respectful message of, hey, I don't feel comfortable with this. Can you maybe not do that? Again, he can contact my partner if he needs. I thought that was a fairly simple message. The response, I find, communicates exactly why often we feel uncomfortable too much, like we must have been wrong for feeling the way that we're feeling, is because as soon as we mention what we're feeling, we are met with defense. However, defense isn't something wrong about what you're feeling. Defense is that you're bubbling up emotion that is truth within them that they're unwilling or uncomfortable to see. When you see defense after standing up for yourself or asking for respect or asking for, like, come on, let's have higher level of conversation, respect, honoring each other. When you're met with defense, or denial, it means something. There's something there. And so I just want to read out this message because, again, if you're not fully tuned into seeing the defensiveness, then what you only see is the kindness, say, so to speak. But what I see in this is a very much a subtle defending energy, gaslighting, putting it on us as the problem, as opposed to being like, hey, thank you so much for sharing your discomfort in this. I want to respect you. I'll be in contact with, say, my partner instead of Kate in the future. That would be a kind response. The response was, I appreciate your communication that she isn't comfortable with it, which again is kind of saying like she's the problem. She's not comfortable with it, which seems odd from my perspective. As I just sent Kate the reels, as it reminded me of some of the topics we briefed over when we caught up. Again, I wasn't really engaged in this conversation, and the reel that he sent me had really nothing to do with what we were talking about. I also appreciate communicating your discomfort, as from my perspective, I appreciate you communicating from my discomfort and then completely dismissing the appreciation and then going into defense. I appreciate you communicating your discomfort, as from my perspective, I'd be completely fine with it, as and figured you'd watch them together as you're a couple. I just want to highlight here where he's saying, I appreciate this, and then defense. If you've set a boundary, what you really want to be met with is an understanding of, I see what you're seeking and I will honor what you're saying. If it's something that makes you uncomfortable, I respect that and I won't do it again. But instead, it was like, you're being a little too much for what you're feeling. And in reality, he just sent me a reel. So was I being too much? Maybe. But the reality is, I was feeling just a disrespect there. And as soon as we just ask kindly for it to not happen because we want to honor the container of our relationship, then we were met with defense. Now, this is coming outside of the relationship, but it can also be the other way around. So, say this was the opposite way around, and this was my partner, and I was taking my partner to a coffee with a friend of mine, man that he had never met. Me and my friend were just catching up over a coffee, and my partner was just, say, reading a book. And then we left, and then my partner messaged her independently and was like sending her reels. He could even tell me that, but sending her reels, often, sometimes they do tell you in order to make it less weird. It's like, yeah, you're in the loop. However, why are you sending this person reels when you've only just met them? It it just seems a little bit disrespectful in the container of your partner. Now, if he really wanted to send this reel to this girl because of something that you're talking about, what I would do is, hey, you should send this to so and so. She'll really like that. And I would personally, to try to keep this picture straight, he could send the reel to me so that I could send it to a friend. Hey, you should send this to Chloe, and then I'll send it to you, and then I can send it to Chloe. It's just being respectful. It's being respectful. So notice where this cutting out happens and where it doesn't feel good. And instead of feeling silly for it being so damn small and insignificant, because what we're talking about right now is, let's say, insignificant, but it's not significant. It's respect. It's taking someone into consideration. Betrayal, significant betrayal, starts so small and so early. And if we're not catching these things and saying, hey, this doesn't feel good, and when we communicate, hey, it doesn't feel good, and we're met with defense, that there is saying something. Listen to yourself, honor yourself. You deserve to speak up for what doesn't feel good, and you also deserve to be met with respect when you do speak up about what doesn't feel good. If you speak up about what doesn't feel good and they're like, hey, oh, absolutely, like, I'm sorry it made you feel that way. That was not my intention, but thank you so much for saying that to me. That would feel good. I just want to talk on that. It's small things that make a big difference over time. I hope that helps. Let me know if this has ever happened in your relationship, or it can happen in friendships, or it can also happen with family members, where it's like, how do people go behind my back without taking me into consideration? It's a big thing, and yet it hurts, and often it feels small in the moment, but it happens time and time again where it doesn't feel good. I hope that helps, and I hope this can lead you to speaking up for being respected in the container of your friends, family members, and your relationship. Bye for now.